So maybe we can dive in a little bit there. We're talking a lot about rate of force development and power training, but then there's that strength piece.
Yeah.
So what is strength, and how important is it to developing a holistic performing athlete?
Okay, so strength, is the ability of an athlete to produce force, and it doesn't take into account time. When you take into account time, that's force over time would be power. So if you're applying force and you do it very quickly over a short period of time, that's where we get power. Rate of force development is how fast you can create that force.
Right.
So if you look at a force over a time curve, the steeper that slope is, the faster you can produce a force in the least amount of time. That's having a high rate of force development. So why that's so important is because in sports, you usually maximum force outputs or strength outputs, it takes you, 0.4 seconds, 0.3 seconds to produce them. But sports happening quicker than that. Your ground contact time is 0.08 or less than 0.1 when you're sprinting. When you're throwing, you're less than 0.1 or less than 0.2. Almost all the movements we're doing in sport are happening under 0.2 of a second. So it doesn't matter about our maximum strength as much as it does about how quickly we can produce that force.
So to put that in perspective, when you're squatting and it takes you, what did you say, 0.4 seconds to get all the way up? Or
it's not even to get all the way up, to recruit maximum motor units, recruit those muscle fibers.
Right, so you'd have to be under a very high amount of load, and you're not going to move that load very fast in order to recruit the max amount of muscle fibers. But that's not sport. Sport, you have to recruit as many generally fast twitch muscle fibers as you can in an instant.
I wish I had my whiteboard.
We could actually do that one day, yeah.
Yeah, I do that at the gym sometimes for my athletes.
Right.
But why is strength then important? Strength is important because having a good strength base is going to potentiate your power phase. It's going to potentiate you to have a better rate of force development. Because if you think about that curve, and the curve's coming here, if that curve ends here, you have a better chance of basically having a steeper curve to get there.
Right.
So when you're increasing your maximum force output, you're actually preparing your body to be able to have a higher rate of force development. But it can't be all you do. If all you do is strength training, you won't ever really be a powerful athlete.
Right. Now, this is such an important point about rate of force development and athletes who only strength train and don't do enough velocity, kind of ballistic training. And Ryan is actually a professor. You teach theories of strength conditioning at a university, so he's teaching out of the NSCA book, and he knows this stuff very well, and he applies it. So he's going to show us on the whiteboard here, what is it, the force velocity curve?
This is the first time graph. And we're going to show you what the different slopes will look like for different trained athletes. And what I was just talking about is just best to be shown, so we're going to go over that now.
Cool, do it.
Alright, so on this we have force on this side and we have time down here. So what I was trying to explain was that even if you can apply or produce large amounts of force, you might not always be doing it in a ballistic manner. So the first graph or line I'm going to draw is going to be for a strength trained athlete. So a strength trained athlete, their line will look more like this. So what happens is they can produce really high amounts of force, but their slope at the beginning is going to be not as steep. Now, a ballistically trained athlete, someone who does lots of plyometrics, lots of sprinting, an elastic type athlete, they won't be able to produce as much force as a strength trained athlete, but they'll be doing it at a higher rate of force development. So remember, rate of force development is it's the slope of these lines. It's a force over time. So what their line will look like, it will be steeper at the beginning, but it won't go as high. So I'll do that with a dotted line or a dashed line. It will look more like this. So it won't go as high. They won't produce as much force as a strength trained athlete, but they'll be doing it a lot quicker. And what I was trying to say is that in sports, most sports actions are happening in 1/10 or 2/10 of a second. So right here, that is 2/10 of a second. So if we're looking at 2/10 of a second and under, the ballistically trained athlete is producing more force in 1/10 of a second. They're producing more force in 2/10 of a second. So even if they might not have the same maximum strength as a strength trained athlete, if you can produce that force at a high rate of force development, you're going to be more successful in sport. You're going to be able to change direction quicker, jump higher, run faster.